Good morning. I'm Heather Westerfield, Chair of the Commission on School Accreditation. This regularly scheduled meeting of the Commission on School Accreditation is being held today, Thursday, June 4th, 2020 at 11 a.m. via teleconference and video means in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated section 25415. An audio recording is being made of this meeting and minutes of this meeting will be recorded. This meeting is also being live streamed. Before we get started, I'd also like to remind the commission members to please stay muted until you are speaking, just to avoid feedback. At this time, I will determine if there is a quorum of the commission as I call the names of the commission members. Please state the location of your presence for this meeting. Commission members, if you'll just give me what city you are in. Kelly Barfield. Kelly, I thought Kelly was on.
Kelly Barfield, present. Vicksburg.
Perfect, thank you. Sean Brewer.
Present. Madison.
Sarah Foster.
Present. Brookhaven.
Roy Gill.
Present. Gulfport.
Brian Harvey. Brian Harvey. I know, I could see you.
Present. Oxford, sorry.
Jefferson Hughes.
Collins, present.
Michael Lindsay.
Present. Pasco, Mississippi.
Dr. Valencia Martin. Yeah, think I. John Mistelis.
Present. Oxford, Mississippi.
Anthony Montgomery.
Present. Biloxi.
Eddie Prather.
Present. Tupelo, Mississippi.
Brad Stevens. Ingrid Williams.
Present. Clinton.
And Heather Westerfield, Jackson, Mississippi. A quorum of the commission is present for the purpose of conducting this meeting. This meeting is called to order at 11:07 a.m. All right, item 2, adoption of the agenda. Commission members, you've received a copy of the agenda. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval to adopt the agenda. Please identify yourself for the record.
Anthony Montgomery, will move.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Montgomery. Do I have a second?
Jefferson Hughes, second.
Second by Mr. Hughes. Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. All right, item 3, approval of the minutes of the February 6, 2020 meeting of the Commission on School Accreditation. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the February 6 minutes.
Jefferson Hughes make a motion.
Heard a motion by Mr. Hughes. Do I have a second?
Second by Sarah Foster.
Second by Ms. Foster. Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. All right, item 4 is a discussion item, consideration of request to revise the Mississippi Administrative Code 724 of the Mississippi Public School Accountability Standards, specifically the business rules of the Mississippi Statewide Accountability System, Section 9, Acceleration, regarding the collection of performance measures for dual credit courses. And I believe Mr. Burrow from the Director of School and District Performance is going to present on this item.
Yes, good morning. So this is a mostly a technical amendment to our business rules. It doesn't change current practices too much, but the department had moved towards trying to collect the grade assignments for dual credit courses directly from post-secondary institutions because there was concern about standardization of the performance measure for these courses at the district level. And that concern was regarding some schools or districts weight grades for dual credit courses. So, for example, they may get a D on the course from the community college, but ends up being a C due to weighting at the school or district, which can affect the performance measure for accountability purposes. We went through a process to try to secure MOUs with post-secondary institutions and to try to set up a data infrastructure, if you would, to collect these grade assignments directly from the post-secondary institutions. And we found a lot of course, it was some logistical complications along the way with multiple institutions, but the kind of the biggest hang up with this was the timing of how we would collect this data. The timing didn't really match up with what we needed in order to get accountability measures out in September, like we're currently doing. So what we've decided to do is to not proceed with collecting the grade assignments directly from post-secondary institutions, but to use the grade assignments that are collected in MSIS. And grade assignments for these courses are already entered in MSIS, but we did not have anything in the business rules to state that schools are expected to enter unweighted grades for these courses in MSIS. So we're changing this business rule to remove the statement that grades would be collected directly from post-secondary institutions and that schools must enter the non-weighted course grades for dual credit courses in MSIS, and that these non-weighted grades will be used as the performance measure for dual credit courses beginning with the upcoming academic year. So lots of backstory, but not a whole lot of complication in the change of the business rule. Do y'all have any questions regarding this change?
Dr. Burrow, this is Brian Harvey. I'd like to hear a little of the backstory if I could.
Well, that's kind of what I gave an overview of. We were working with IHL and we were working with post-secondary institutions that are not part of IHL to try to collect this data, and we did enter into a few MOUs to do that, but the timing was the issue in collecting the data from the post-secondary institutions. It would have been later in the fall, certainly after our data collection deadlines for accountability, to get accountability results out in September, and we certainly don't want to delay accountability results any more than necessary.
So, well, I guess my question specifically is then people were entering grades, school districts were entering grades, they were entering the weighted grades into MSIS.
Yes, some weight them and some don't. So there's some inconsistencies there with that performance measure, and we certainly want to try to filter out those inconsistencies when we're developing accountability measures. So there's some concern there, and that was the reason for us trying to get the grades directly from post-secondary institutions. But at this point, what we want to do is state in the business rules that schools must enter the non-weighted grades so that we have some standardization of that measure of performance.
So bear with me here, because I just want to make sure that I understand, because I don't have firsthand knowledge of this, but most of this comes from student information system. I don't, and perhaps some of the others on the committee might have better information than I have. But this is not something that individual counselors or administrators would enter in at one time. I'm assuming it comes from student information system, which districts may have board policies as to what grades are reported. Has there been any thought given to perhaps districts should be given the opportunity to change their policy, not saying that they will or won't, but if this is the requirement, I mean, does any of that come into play? Mr. Lindsay, you would, and Mr. Brewer, y'all would have more information on that. Does this pose a problem for high schools and counselors?
This is Mike Lindsay, and I can't speak for other high schools, but we do weight our dual credit courses that our kids take, but we do not put those weighted grades into a grade book. The only place the weight comes into play is when we rank our students at the end of the year. So whatever the student makes in the college course is being reported to MSIS without the weight at our school. I'm not sure how the other schools are doing it. I have heard of schools that may weight it and then put that weighted grade into the grade book, which will then get reported to MSIS. But that's not how we do it, and I can only speak for our school.
Okay.
Mr. Burrow, this is Eddie Prather. Just for clarification, if you enter the non-weighted grade from school district, then school continue weight the grade and put it on student transcript or finish the college. Wouldn't that reflect two different grades for a student?
My understanding is that we're not changing. We're not trying to change the practice of the local school or district in regards to weighting grades. What we're trying to do is standardize the data collection of these grades. And by changing this business rule, we're requesting that what the school and district reports to MDE is the non-weighted grade for the course. And then just again stating in that last sentence that these non-weighted grades will be used as the performance measure for dual credit courses. Really, our intent here is just a control of the data that we're using for accountability.
Mr. Burrows, this is Roy. Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around this because I'm not exactly sure, and maybe that's a lack of my knowledge. Whatever the child makes in the dual credit course, that's what we have to use in our grade book. As far as weight, that has rank, that has nothing to do with it. So maybe I'm just doesn't understand it, because we won't have to change anything in our dual credit courses in MSIS, because what the child makes is what we send. Is that my understanding?
I think that will be the majority of the case.
Okay, but that's what I was just wanting to make sure. Were we not going to have to go in and every dual credit course and put the same exact grade in MSIS? Because when we import, those grades are the actual grade that child made in the course. Mm-hmm. Apparently, that's not some of the other issues.
It's not the case for everybody, or we wouldn't be looking at a change in the business rules.
That's what I'm saying. I did not know people changed grades, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my impression, is that for the most part, this will not be a change. But there are some instances where weighted grades are getting entered, and we just want to standardize that data that we get.
Okay, we're having some technical difficulties. Y'all bear with us. your browser locked up. It did lock up. Tell you what, let's mute you and or I can give her that board room computer. Yeah, we'll just close that out. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's weird because I'm moving on the screen.
I can hear and see you fine, Heather.
Just a second now.
We're having to move around here in the, so bear with us.
We can't hear Heather at the moment.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Hold in on the phone.
All right, the priest is saying he can die. Y'all hear me?
Very muffled. I can barely hear you.
All right, we're gonna try to call in from the phone so that y'all can hear the audio a little bit better. Bear with us.
Are we supposed to be able to see them? All I have is the agenda on my screen.
At the bottom of the screen, usually there's a ribbon that's got the participants in there, and you should be able to see them down there.
Mine just has initials of everybody.
Okay. And I'm not sure how to scroll that ribbon, but because you can only see so many of them.
Sorry, that's all I can see, the initials, all those that's on as well.
Okay.
Okay, this is Heather on the phone. Can y'all hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yes, we can
Yeah.
hear you.
Okay. Okay.
Much.
I think we're good now. Okay, forgive me. And I don't know what was said and all that. So we are still on item 4, discussing the business rules. This all started as I just tried to unmute myself to make a comment, and I think I messed the whole system up. But I was just going to comment what Mr. Gill was saying, where you get the inconsistency sometimes is, I teach a dual enrollment course, and what I report to the community college is just a letter grade. So a student makes an A, that could be 100 all the way to, a 90. We're on a 10-point scale with Hines. But in my Pearl class, they get a weighted grade, which is actually a number. And it is possible if students were like on the borderline where they might report like an 88 to, a B to Hines, but on Pearl side, that weight pulls them up to an A. And that's just what I was going to say as far as there being some inconsistency in that. And I have to explain that to my students all the time, is that because of the weight, they have a Hines grade and they have a Pearl grade. And the Hines grade is what matters for their college transcript. Pearl is just for, class rank, valedictorian, salutatorian, GPA for Pearl. So, okay. So like I said, I don't know what else was discussed while we were having difficulties doing it. I can hang this up now.
All right. This is Roy Gill again. So I just want to make sure that okay, we're all on the same page, is that the actual numerical grade that they get in the course is what goes in our information system. And we don't have to go in and put something else in MSIP if that is the correct grade. Am I correct?
That's my understanding. Yeah, that this shouldn't be a change for most people. It's just that, as you know, if something's not in the business rules, it says thou shall, then it kind of leaves the door open for interpretation. And so we just want to make this clear that that's the expectation, that we are collecting a non-weighted grade for these courses.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions or discussion about this item? Or anything that got missed in our technical difficulties? Okay, if there is no other discussion, we will move on to item 5, which is approval to submit the request to the State Board of Education to begin the Administrative Procedures Act process to revise Mississippi Admin Code 724 of the Mississippi Public Schools Accountability Standards, specifically the business rules of the Mississippi Statewide Accountability System, Section 9, Acceleration, regarding the collection of performance measures for dual credit courses. So at this time, I will entertain a motion for approval to send this out to the APA process.
Brian Harvey, so moved.
A motion by Mr. Harvey. Do I have a second?
Mike Lindsay, second.
A second by Mr. Lindsay. Is there any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. All right, item 6, approval to upgrade the accreditation status of the Laurel School District from probation to accredited. Dr. Malone?
Yes, in your backup materials, you have
Okay, are there any questions on this item? Could y'all hear Dr. Malone?
No, I did not hear.
Okay,
No.
she's gonna say it again.
Okay, so the Office of Internal Audit has submitted notice to our office that the Laurel School District has cleared their violations, and therefore we are requesting that the commission upgrade them off of probation and back to accredited.
This
Okay,
is Mistalis, so moved.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Mistalis. Is there a second?
Second by Sarah Foster.
I hear a second by Ms. Foster. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Sorry, any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, item 7, election of the 2020-2021 chair and vice chair of the Commission on School Accreditation. Per policy, the commission is required to annually elect a chair and vice chair. At this time, I will open the floor for nominations for the position of chair of the School Accreditation.
Heather, are you willing to be reappointed?
Well, my 8 years is up, so unfortunately, I will not be able to serve.
Okay, that's an important clarification here.
Yeah. Do you want us to go through the who is still going? We've got several that are rolling off. Do you want us to go through who of our returning members is still going to be with us?
That would be useful to me.
Okay. So Kelly Barfield, Roy Gill, Brian Harvey, Jefferson Hughes, Valencia Martin, John Mistelis, Anthony Montgomery, Brad Stevens, and Ingrid Williams.
I nominate Brian Harvey.
And I was about to nominate you. Brian Harvey is unable to serve in that capacity at this time.
So, Mr. Harvey, you make an official nomination?
Of Mr. Roy Gill, yes, I would nominate Roy Gill.
Kelly Barfield seconds that nomination.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Okay, if there are no further nominations, the nominations are closed.
How long is this term for?
1 year.
1 year? Okay.
Annually. Not to say you can't be reelected, as I found out, but. Okay. That's the voting.
Yes.
So we're here. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we're voting. Okay.
I mean, just no motion needed. It's just.
Okay, so all those in favor of Roy Gill serving in the position of chair of the Commission on School Accreditation, say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Gill.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, at this time, I'll open the floor for nominations for the position of vice chair.
This is Eddie Price. I'd like to nominate Dr. Valencia Martin.
Now, does it matter if she's not here? Okay.
Okay, so I have Valencia Martin.
Is Eddie Price available to be nominated again? Because this is Anthony Montgomery.
I roll off Mr. Montgomery.
Oh, okay.
How do we know if Miss Martin's willing to serve?
That's
I
a good
thought she was
question.
on.
She is not on.
Well, we'll verify with her and then come back to the commission. This won't be the first time somebody was elected when they missed a meeting.
I can amen to that.
Kelly Barfield will second that nomination.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Okay, if not, the nominations are closed. So all in favor of Dr. Valencia Martin serving in the position of Vice Chair of the Commission on School Accreditation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. All right, item 8, approval of the meeting dates for the 2020-2021 school year. I believe Dr. Malone's pulling those up for us right now. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to accept the proposed dates for the regularly scheduled meetings of the 2020-2021 school year. Please identify yourself for the record.
Roy Gill, so moved.
Motion by Mr. Gill. Do I have a second?
Jefferson Hughes, second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. All right, item 9. The only thing I have on my list is the next regularly scheduled meeting is Thursday, August the 6th. Dr. Malone, do you have any other business? Okay, so if there is nothing. Oh, hang on just a second, Dr. Malone. Welcome back to the microphone.
Just want to say thank you to those of you that are rolling off for your service over these past 4 or 8 years. We appreciate all that you've done. Thank you for your patience with me as this learning process that I've had for the last couple of years. And again, we wish everyone well and thank you very much for your service.
Who all's rolling off?
So Heather and Mr. Prather are both rolling off, as well as Mr. Brewer and Miss Foster. And Mike Lindsay is also stepping off because he has accepted another position. And so therefore he is will not be qualified to serve in the position that he's holding right now.
That's 5. Wow.
All right, any other business? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Sean Brewer.
Motion by Mr. Brewer. Do I have a second?
Second.
I hear a second by Mr. Prather. No discussion? We stand adjourned. All in favor, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. We stand adjourned at 11:38. Thank you so much, everybody.
Have a good summer.
Hang it up.